You're listening to a podcast from the Finnish Football Show.
Yes, it's the Finnish Football Show. I'm Mark Wiltshire. Today we're here with a Euro 2024 qualifier preview, and I'm joined by most of the Finnish Football Show team in order of when they appeared on my screen. Keke Mülleri. Hi, Keke.
Terve!
Ali Manson. Hi, Ali.
Moikka.
And Rich Nelson, fresh between two night shifts. Hi, Rich.
Hey.
Good to see you all. So we're here to look at sort of the third round of qualifying fixtures for Euro 2024. Finland's Huuhkajat are travelling to Kazakhstan before facing Denmark at home in a really finely balanced Group H. So we're going to talk you through both of these fixtures, look at what is a pretty familiar looking Finland squad, and we've even done some research into the opponents. So we'll let you, listener, be the judge of how effective that research was. Also, we'll have a quick catch up on the Veikkausliiga, because Rich and I were here last week looking at the recent action there. The final round of games was played, and we'll look at where everyone sits heading into the final part of the season, where the table splits. So there's the referee's whistle. Rich, why don't you just give a bit of an overview of what's been going on in the Veikkausliiga?
So the weekend just gone on Sunday. It was the final round of the regular season. So each team has now played each other twice. So it's been 22 rounds, and the table will split into the top six and the bottom six. It'll be the championship group and the relegation group. The final placings, we'll put the table in the note, but Hoiko drew with Cups on the final day. So Hoiko are leaders now, and the way that the fixtures for the next two rounds work is that will also be the final round of the championship group. All these words. But basically the prize was to have that as a home game. So Hoiko will host that. I believe it will be the first weekend of October, but we're waiting for the fixtures to be confirmed. That'll be Tuesday as we're recording, although the format's already been decided. So the final round will be Hoiko against Cups, Asiko against VPS, Honka against Inter. And VPS won the 10th game in a row yesterday against Mariehamn. They're now 2 wins short of equaling the Veikkausliiga record of 12, which is Hoiko, I think, in 2017. I think it might have been. I've got it written down somewhere.
But, I wouldn't bet against them right now.
No. And so I can't remember the exact layout of the next couple of fixtures, but they'll be playing away to Asiko on the final day. So a nice little derby for you there, Mark.
That will be tasty, where by that time Asiko would have slipped down to 6th and VPS will be pushing for 2nd probably.
Yeah, well, I mean, as the table shows, Hoiko finished 6 points ahead of Asiko, and Asiko got 3 points out of a possible 18.
Yeah.
So who knows how things would have changed. And then, so Honka and Inter took 5th and 6th place. Asiolo, who at one point were threatening to make the title a 4-horse race, dropped into the relegation group. I think they won one of their last 7 or 8 games and looked generally quite shambolic. So
I've discovered by fiddling around with the league table on the Veikkausliiga website that you can select kind of recent form. I think maybe I mentioned this last week. And you look at it's Oulu and Asiko right down there near the bottom of the form table over 5, 7, 8 games.
Yeah.
It's they're right down there. So I wonder if that's shows that Oulu were right to sack their manager because their form had been so bad, or if he'd stayed, could he have just kept them in that top half?
Yeah, I think things were starting to go wrong anyway. I mean, they let the best player go, and and I think the reason he left now rather than the end of the season, which was agreed, was because results were so bad. But I think if he hadn't said he'd be leaving, they wouldn't have sacked him. I think he'd done so well for him over the last couple of years that he deserved at least that. But yeah, so they're now in the relegation group. I think it's 7 points ahead of Haka, who are 8th. And the way that the league goes is that if Honka win the Sorman Cup at the end of September, the European playoff place drops to 8th, which means that Oulu and Haka on form anyway. This would change, but yeah. So the teams in 7th and 8th would play in the playoff. Sorry, Woody's just coughed. And then you've got Lahti, Ilves, Kotepe, and Mariehamn making up the rest of the bottom half. And there's now, let's say that little group's quite close, but Mariehamn, there's now a 5-point gap for them at the bottom, so they're now starting to be somewhat adrift of the rest of the group.
I think you said the name Honka twice. We had complaints during the week that the last show was good, but we didn't talk about Honka enough. Yeah. So would each of you like to say the name Honka just to keep up the quoting? Keke.
Honka.
Ali.
Honka.
Rich.
Honka.
I'll have a honker as well. Now, it didn't tell much about the team, and they are in the Sorman Cup final, and they are in the top half of the table. So as we get towards the end of the season and start to look at what's been going on, surely we'll be saying that hallowed name one more time.
We'll do a cup final. We'll do something for the cup final.
Yeah. Anyone got anything particular else to add to Rich's Veikkausliiga summary, or shall we crack on with what's going on this week?
Only just to say that Huuhkajat managed to get into the Europa Conference League group stage, which obviously means a little bit of dollar, and 6 extra fixtures that should be quite fun to watch, whether you're of the Huuhkajat persuasion or not.
Not.
It was a good achievement, and the group for Huuhkajat looks quite. It's a nice mix. I think we've complained before of. I mean, their previous Conference League group, there weren't any teams with any real profile in Finland or sort of mainland Europe. So, so it's nice. They've got Eintracht Frankfurt, Aberdeen, and PAOK from Greece. So it will. I'm sure we'll talk more about it nearer the time. But I think it's good for them. It's nice to, and it keeps them busy for six weekends. Albeit the title will be wrapped up by match day 4. So yeah. But again. Good for them. Good for the old coefficient, and good for the sort of profile. And they'll get a few quid out of it, especially if they pick up some points.
Yeah, good point, Ali. It obviously needed the Huuhkajat fan to remember that actually achieved that last week, because it was a good to keep in the group stages, as much as that really sticks in the back of my throat. All right, let's move on and look at these upcoming fixtures. Just as a reminder, 2 games in the next week. Kazakhstan versus Finland in the Astana Arena in Astana on Thursday the 7th. This is at 5 o'clock finish time in the afternoon, which has upset Lady Sutter because she started an art class on Thursday at 6 o'clock and she's furious. She's got to miss the second half. But I told her, chosen your course, you've got to go and study. So yeah, 5 o'clock. It's actually really nice because these 10 o'clock or 9:45 kickoffs over here are a killer. Not only staying up, like keeping your eyes open, but then the next morning when the alarm goes off at 5:30 to start work at 8, it's brutal. That's then followed up on Sunday the 10th with Finland versus Denmark from the Olympia Stadion in Helsinki there, and that's at 7 p.m. So that's also quite nice, and also lets people travel back home after the game and get home at a reasonable time as well. So I've put in the blog post the links to where you can watch both games on Yle Arena if you are in Finland or if you've got your VPN going. I tell you what, Ali and Keke have done a little bit of digging into the opponents, but Rich, would you like to just talk through the squad a little bit and anything notable? I said in the intro that it was quite a familiar looking squad. Not many changes from last time, but
Yeah, I think the main conversation piece was the addition of Kevin Benetan, who we talked about. We mentioned him briefly that he'd threatened to, or I say threatened, he'd been offered the opportunity to represent Togo, which is where his dad's from.
Yeah.
And mysteriously, Riva has now called him up to the Finland squad. Now, I'd had some conversations on social media before this about the whole opting to play for Togo thing. I think I don't think anyone really saw him being. I mean, he's done well for Hoiko pretty much over the last sort of year or so. The European game, was it against Mold or Karabag? I think he got sent off in the home leg there. And I mean, he's good, but is he any better than what Finland have got? The plethora of wing-back options that they already have. I mean, we've talked ad infinitum around that sort of wing-back. There isn't one player there who's nailed down either flank, quite frankly. But he's in the team, and if he gets a minute of a competitive international, he is Finnish for life.
Well, actually, Rich, I heard something different just this evening, that the rule is you have to play no more than 3 competitive games for a country. And this was being talked about in relation to Evan Ferguson at Brighton, who's played 3 times for Ireland, but could still be nicked.
Yeah, but this is a European qualifier, so this is different.
Is it?
Nations League, I don't think Nations League counts.
Really?
Yeah. So it's, Euros, okay. It was always Euros and World Cup
right,
qualifiers.
Okay.
Yeah. Nations League are effectively organised friendlies.
Very organised and very competitive friendlies.
Yes. But Euro qualify counts. So you can change nationality, but not if you've played a competitive. And it depends on his age as well. I think because he's what is he, 25?
24, I think, yeah.
24, yeah. So I think that there's an element of age there as well. So Ferguson, because Ferguson's under a certain age, he's allowed to do that.
There could have been some pedantic character listening to the show arguing with you, so I'd just like to put myself in position of that pedant.
Yeah, I think because he's over a certain age, and because this is effectively a competitive game. And Togo nowhere to go. But other than that, I think the squad is fairly, other than the injuries that we knew about, players like Suhonen still out with a fairly long-term injury, and a couple of others as well. But the squad looks fairly what we expect him. And Rob Taylor's there, Buki, Boyanpalo, Lod's out, of course. But we've got Niskanen and Sinisalo, who have been suitably reassured by Rive that playing for Exeter City and doing very well in League One is no barrier to them getting in a squad as long as they're playing regularly. Daniel Hawkins, hat-trick hero from San Marino's there.
He's had an operation in between these 2 call-ups. Do you know what I mean? So he's done well to sort of get back from that. But yeah, it's good to see him.
What was the operation, Keke?
It was on his body somewhere.
They didn't touch the side, so it didn't go buzz.
Good to know. Right. Well, then we'll see if he's bandaged up anywhere if he plays in the next week or so.
And then we've also got Glenn Kamara, who's moved to Leeds United, went through at the end of last week and made a brief cameo at the weekend. So he's now, he would have been in the squad anyway, but I think, I don't know if 7 minutes as a Leeds substitute is sufficient match practice for him to start, but I'm sure he'll start at least one of the games this weekend.
Okay, all right. Let's take a look first at the Kazakhstan squad. Keke drew the short straw by dint of the fact that Ali put his hand up first and bagged Denmark. So, Keke, what can you tell us about Kazakhstan players, the current form, anything just to give us a little bit of an idea how this might go?
Well, the short answer is their current form is absolutely fantastic, but just a little bit about the squad, because that won't take long at all. They're almost exclusively playing in the Kazakh league. There's a few taken from FC Astana, who people who follow the European scene will have heard of. They've been in various European competitions and had 1 or 2 results. But yeah, there's quite a few taken from the Astana side. There's a couple, literally only a couple of guys who are playing their football outside of Kazakhstan, and that's one fella who's at Besiktas and another one who's at Zenit St. Petersburg. If I don't know exactly who they're playing or what's going on over there at the minute, but yeah, there's one of them's playing over there. But as I said, apart from that, they're all Kazakh based. The coach is a Russian fella. I had a little look at his previous career. Nothing that sort of really stands out, but the real story is their current form, because it's been literally sort of outstanding, especially for this qualifying campaign. I mean, they're second behind us in the table, but literally only on goal difference because of that fantastic win we had over San Marino. They beat San Marino themselves in San Marino 3-0. I mean, which is a decent result. The standout result was their home victory over Denmark 3-2. Obviously, we spoke when the group was first drawn that Denmark would be probably the favourites for the group, and then they go to Kazakhstan thinking, who are these part-timers? I suppose we'll get a result here, and they end up getting turned over 3-2. And then Kazakhstan went to Northern Ireland and got a 1-0 win there as well. So it seems that they know how to win. They seem pretty organised. They have got one loss. They lost to Slovenia at home in the first game of this qualifying campaign. But since then, they really have got their act together. And I mean, when you look back over their form before that, I mean, there was a couple of friendlies, one against Uzbekistan and one against United Arab Emirates, which they were on the wrong end of. But previous to that, they've beaten Belarus, they've beaten Slovakia twice. They've beaten Azerbaijan and they've beaten Moldova. So, I mean, they've come up against teams. I mean, Slovakia are no mugs really. They've come up teams sort of matched to what you would. If you were going to pick teams out of Europe and put Kazakhstan against them, I suppose you'd say that these teams are sort of evenly matched, and they've turned them all over. But as I said, their most recent form in our qualifying group has been fantastic. So I think for us to go there, it's we're going to need to have our wits about us. I mean, it's easy for anybody to say, well, we're Finland, we should be beating Kazakhstan. But as I've hopefully just explained, it's I don't think it's really a foregone conclusion, because they don't seem too bad of a side.
No, they're scoring goals. The table, I mean, you mentioned the table, so that's worth just running through. Finland first, 9 points. Kazakhstan second with 9 points. Denmark third with 7. Slovenia fourth with 7. So it's all goal difference at the moment. Then it's Northern Ireland fifth with 3 points, and San Marino bottom with 0 point. Rich, I know I'm dropping you in it here, but I've already done that to Keke tonight, so you don't see why I should let you off. Any idea on the current rankings for the teams?
No, I don't actually. It's one of these, since they've changed the rankings a couple of years ago. Actually, no, it's more than that, wasn't it? It was about 10 years ago. They changed the structure. I'm going to have a quick look. I think what we had was that they changed a while back the way the calculations were made. But I mean, effectively, because Finland are currently 55th, Kazakhstan 104th.
Yeah,
right.
So
okay. Wow.
that's they're currently between Belarus and Kosovo. So it's I mean they're performing above their weight. I know there's an alternative ranking structure that some people use, ELO, but the FIFA one's the recognised one anyway. But yeah, 104, and I mean they weren't. I think they might have been the 4th seeds in that group, possibly. Yeah, so again, tough, and they've shown already that with the results that they've done, they're beating Denmark would have gotten some big points anyway. But yeah, I'm sure by the end of this campaign they'll have picked up a few more.
Yeah, that was certainly the fly in the ointment for everyone in the group, really, wasn't it? It's what made everything so tight, which is great and keeps it exciting, at least for 4 teams.
Obviously, as I said, it was our thumping of San Marino that's seen us go top of the group. But you did say that Kazakhstan are scoring goals. I mean, they are scoring goals, but they're not limited to one goal scorer. They've spread them around the side. There's a couple of 3 players on 2 goals in this campaign, and another 2 who have chipped in with 1 apiece. I mean, there's you've got Ambetov, Tagia Bergen, and Zaynutidinov, who have all got 2 apiece. And I'm not going to pretend to know anything else about those guys apart from they scored 2 goals, and I'm struggling to pronounce their surnames.
Above and beyond,
but,
I've put the squad pictures in the blog post, and the reason I referred to that earlier is that all of the names are written in their own alphabet, so I got no idea what any of their names are. They probably won't be written like that on the back of their shirts. So it was the only pictures I could find to try and help Keke and Ali prepare for this. So I think you've done a sterling job there, and we should keep an eye out for those players. Maybe you can send me their names, and I'll add them into the blog post so that people can just find them and keep an eye out for them.
I mean, I don't know. I can't profess to be any more of an expert on Kazakh football than I've already explained. But I don't know. Is this stadium going to be full? Are Astana Kazakh locals bang into this? I don't know. But obviously, it is a long way from home. It's not the easiest place to get to. I personally know 3 Finland fans who have travelled, who will be there, and I'm sure they won't be alone. I'm sure there'll be a few more. But yeah, as I say, I personally know 3 who have actually travelled or travelling from Finland to go to Kazakhstan away. Couple of which was enjoying the Independence Day celebrations in, is it Kyrgyzstan or someplace, another Central Asian Republic that begins with K. But
one of the stands.
One of the stands. Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, we'll have obviously a couple of fans there who are going to be full of voice. But yeah, I honestly, I don't think it's going to be. It's not. Well, we've seen it. It's not going to be a walkover. So we've got to keep our heads down, concentrate, get through those first sort of 10 or 15 minutes, and try and stamp our authority on the game. Because truly speaking, as Rich has explained with the FIFA rankings, we should be the better side. So, I mean, and you want to come away from here. It's a tough away game, but you want to come away from here with the 3 points, don't you?
Well, we do. We'll come to predictions at the end. I'm going to jot down what everyone says, and then we'll see if we know anything about anything or prove what we suspect, the opposite. Ali, what about Denmark? So that's Kazakhstan on Thursday, the 7th. Then on Sunday, Denmark at home at the Olympic Stadium. Now, this was easier to research because there are some familiar names there, and their names are written in. Well, there's one or two strange letters, but at least we can read it. So, Ali, over to you. What did you find out, and why did you want to review this or preview this game anyway?
Well, I mean, I wanted to preview the game because I will be at the game on Sunday. So yeah, really looking forward to that first and foremost. I also want to say hats off to Keke there for some really good in-depth research there. I think
really good in-depth flanneling.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're having fun and learning.
Yeah,
which is a good combination. I'll start off with the positive with Denmark from a Finnish perspective, at least. Denmark have been quite regularly in the top 10 of the FIFA rankings, mostly for the last sort of 3 or 4 years. They were brilliant in the Euros 2 years ago now. And they were absolutely rubbish at the World Cup. So that's always good to hold on to. Now for the thing that might get us a little bit worried. I worked out the Danish team, you can have at least 2 very strong 11s. And yeah, I mean, just going down the list, you've got, Christian Eriksen, who I'm sure if he plays on Sunday, he'll get, a really good ovation from the whole stadium, I would imagine. Hopefully just at the beginning, and then we can, I don't know, boo him for the rest of the 90. We don't want him to play too well. And then players like Thomas Delaney, Mikael Damsgaard, who's at Brentford, who hasn't really played particularly much at Brentford, but is still a good player. I mean, Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. I mean, from a Man United point of view, from myself, I'm interested to see if Rasmus Højlund plays. He played 20 minutes for United yesterday, and did more than Martial did in 60 minutes, but that's also not saying much. Kasper Schmeichel is about to, I believe, sign for Anderlecht. But maybe his mind hasn't been totally on football because he's just had his contract terminated at Nice. So maybe he's upset about leaving the south of France and having to go to Brussels. I mean, I'm trying to find something here.
Well, one thing is that they've dropped their points away in this competition. So they lost away to Kazakhstan and drew away to Slovenia.
They have, and particularly that draw against Slovenia, eyebrows were raised. I think we were expecting Denmark to go there and win. And that was one of the results where you think, oh, wow, this isn't really going to be a Denmark win the group and everyone just battles it out for second. Denmark go to Helsinki on Sunday needing the points just as much as we do. So I would imagine they're going to really go for it. I would imagine that Finland have been looking at this fixture for a long, long time, have a plan for Denmark. I think we talk about the spine of the Finnish team being the strength. That central midfield battle is going to be absolutely key. Whoever, wins that will probably win the game. I think the other slightly concerning thing with Denmark, I will finish on a positive. I promise again, I started with a positive, the constructive and the worrying bits in the middle, and then I'll finish on a positive. Is that obviously Denmark they've got a really strong bench, a really strong 22, as I've sort of alluded to earlier. They've got players like Jesper Lindstrøm, who's just signed for Napoli, who aren't a bad team either. Jonas Vind, who plays in the Bundesliga, I think with Wolfsburg, has scored quite a few goals already this season. So they can hurt us in several ways. However, I do think that their defense is definitely on the older side now, with Simon Kjær and Andreas Christensen. That they're not what they were a couple of years ago. So I really think, whether it's Pukki and Poyampalo or whoever is playing up front, I still think that Finland can cause them problems.
Well, others have been causing them problems, haven't they? So there's clearly something not quite right there. And like you said, I had them going deep into the World Cup last year, and they let me down badly. Rich?
Going back to the first match of the group, which Denmark won 3-1 against Finland, and Højlund, I think to a lot of people who don't watch much football out of their own kind of domain, which I've kind of grown to become as I've got older, he very much was a surprise player. I think no one expected him. He scored a hat-trick. And I mean, to be brutally honest, Lukas Radecki kept Finland in that game up until that point. I think he scored his second goal in the 82 minutes, 83 minutes. Lukas Radecki had an absolute blinder that night to keep it at 1-1 after Ant-Man had scored the equaliser. But I think now with Højlund, I think that element of surprise has gone. In that sort of 6 months since that game, he'd been playing for Atalanta, he went to Man United, and his first appearance yesterday, he came on looked fairly promising in that game. And I think, like Ali said, if they continue that form from the World Cup, because this isn't the team that did so well 2 years ago, and there've been a lot of changes. And I think that the Finland side seemed to be, they were going through a period of flux 6 months ago, still, that defence. And I think now with the better options up front, you've got Ant-Man, who's obviously scored in that game, but Hawkins is there. If Robert Taylor features, he didn't play for Inter Miami last night, but he's the golden boy, as it were, at the moment as well. Pukki's now getting into his goal scoring form in the US, and Poyampalo still doing well. So I think in an attacking sense, Finland are in a better shape than they were 6 months ago.
Yeah, in the form of someone like Taylor, you'd have to imagine that Rive wants to harness that. Surely, that a player doing so well for his club, playing with such kind of stars around him, he must be buzzing confidence-wise, and that can only benefit Finland. Ali?
Yeah, just to sort of carry on from what Rich was saying about Denmark, and we alluded to the fact that the World Cup did not go to plan. Even in those 18 months between the Euros and the World Cup, the biggest thing that I sort of took away from that Denmark team is the legs and the midfield are really starting to go now. I mean, Christian Eriksen, for obvious reasons, struggles to play 90 minutes. Højbjerg is, his legs are going. That's why Tottenham wanted to ship him out. Thomas Delaney has had a real fall from grace in terms of the clubs that he's been playing for. So I think, get some youthful legs in that middle of the park, and we could really get at them.
So what do we think about Rive's selections for these two games? They're both going to be challenging games. There's not any games where you'd want to start and say, oh, we can, like Denmark are playing San Marino on Thursday, so they need the points, but that's a relatively easy game. We've got two really difficult games. Do you think that the lineup or the formation will be similar in both? Will we play to our strengths, or will we react to what the opponents might do?
I have a feeling that Pukki will start against Kazakhstan on Thursday night. He's on the kind of, even at his advanced years, he's gone to MLS. He's, the goals he's scoring are Teemu Pukki textbook goals.
Yeah.
And I think as an away option against the team that will be looking at Finland, thinking we can get a result here, Finland will have to play on the break a little bit. And I think playing on the shoulder, whether he's played with Poyan Palo or someone more of a runner with him, someone like Hawkins or Ant-Man, I don't know. But I think that's kind of probably what's going to happen, I think. And I mean, the rest of the spine of the team is going to be fairly settled. I think that the three at the back, Jensen, Ivanov, and again, whether that's going to be Thomas or Hoskonen, he quite likes Hoskonen, doesn't he? And whether they'll be the three that start. And then Schuller, who's been in excellent form still in Sweden, he should start both games. I'm not sure if Kamara will start against Kazakhstan, but I think he will play at least once. But
why not, Rich?
I just feel like, he's had 7 minutes of competitive football in months.
Yeah.
Okay.
He wasn't even training with the Rangers first team. Like they were that set on getting rid of him or getting money for him. He was banished off to train with the under-21s, So I think he will feature at some point, same as Rich. But yeah, I don't know if a starting berth is what he can manage at the moment.
Yeah, and I think again the wing backs are going to be fairly interchangeable, to be honest. Rive knows what he needs. I mean, Jeruinen should play from the left. I think he's a little bit more solid defensively than the others, but I think he's. But other than that, and again, wing back's going to be a tiring role. I don't know what the weather in Kazakhstan in September's like. That sounds like an old MI5 spy novel kind of code. But I think you'd imagine that the two who start at wing back on Thursday will be rested and replaced and rotated for the Denmark game. But I think the spine of the team's been fairly similar. It's just a case of how does he integrate Kamara, Taylor. I think they're the two in the midfield, because Taylor's been coming in off the left for Miami. Would he do that as a more advanced player, or would he play a bit more centrally for Finland? I don't know. But I'd be surprised if Taylor doesn't start one of those games as well.
The weather in Astana on Thursday should be 18 degrees and overcast. It's perfect for the Finland players.
Yeah,
it certainly will. Hey, Ali, what about Kevin Kuosivi-Benisen? What kind of fullback is he?
He's one that likes to bomb forward.
Right.
Yeah, I can't remember who mentioned, it might have been Rich, about getting sent off. Yeah, it was the Karabag game, the second leg, that he had two very quick yellow cards. I think the first one was quite harsh. Second one probably deserved it. But every time I've seen him, he really likes to bomb forward. However, he does have a few frailties going backwards, as a lot of, quite a few modern day fullbacks do. But he's young, he's quick, he's got a lot of energy. And I mean, I think he could be a stronger alternative than Alho if we need a goal, for example. I mean, I don't want to bash him too much. We've kind of gone into him a few times over the last few Finland podcasts, but yeah, I think he could be a good option. At least, we're not always blessed with wing backs, again, as we mentioned quite a bit. Why not throw him into the deep end? He played really well last Thursday when I saw him live against Constanta. So yeah, why not keep up the momentum and start him?
Or maybe one to bring on with that pace and a bit of legs towards the end, just to add a little something as well.
Rive seems to really like Alho. I mean, I haven't got a major problem with Alho. He is what he is. He's been around a while. He's all right going forward. He's not bad going forward. He's maybe not so great defensively, but we all know that, and that's been the case with our wing backs for a while. But yeah, but Rive seems to like him, so I think Alho will possibly feature. Kaan Kairinen has been playing well in Czech Republic for Sparta. I think he's yet to really show us what he can do in a Finland shirt, I would say. I mean, he's chipping in with goals and assists for Sparta Prague on a sort of weekly basis. But I think we need to see, if I'm being ultra critical, I think we need to see a little bit more from him in a national team jersey. But this week might be the week. But just one more point I wanted to make with Ali going to the game. Obviously, Finland have to travel back from Kazakhstan. I don't know if that'll come into play. It's what is it? What day are they playing? Thursday and
Thursday.
Thursday and then
Sunday.
Yeah, so it's quite a quick turnaround. But yeah, Ali will be in that Olympic Stadium, that sold out Olympic Stadium, along with 35,000 other screaming nutters. So yeah, it should. Finnish football is alive and kicking, mate. It's going from strength to strength at the minute, as I witnessed myself last week when I was trying to get me Slovenia away ticket. What a palaver that was! But yeah, I mean, it's good that the stadium's sold out, and if we can get a result against Denmark, the more the better.
Rich, did you want to come back on that point about whether you can play for two countries?
Yeah, so the rule was around age. So if you're over 21, which he is, KKB is, then you can't change once you've played a competitive fixture. If you're under 21, I think you can play 4 games and then change.
Wow!
But if you're over 21,
that's great. So there you go, pedants. We're all correct. So I think it's that time to make some predictions, boys. Now, I did get something from Rich early because I wasn't sure if he was going to be able to join us, but I haven't written them down yet. So let's start with you, Rich. What are you thinking? Kazakhstan, Finland.
I'm going to be conservative for this game and say 1-1.
I don't think that's a bad shout. And what about for the Finland-Denmark game?
I think 1-0 to Finland.
Okay. Who's next? Ali.
I'm going 2-1 to Finland against Kazakhstan.
Yeah.
I'm feeling there's going to be a late goal in that one.
Okay.
And I'm going to go and be a little bit more conservative and take the 1-1 draw, Finland-Denmark on Sunday.
Yeah, okay. And Keke?
Well, I'm wearing a Lucas Radetzky shirt today, so I'm banking on a couple of clean sheets.
Okay.
I'm banking on a couple of clean sheets from Luka. So yeah, I'm gonna go 2-0 away at Kazakhstan to Finland.
Okay, it's bold.
And then 1-0 at home. And nervy. It's going to be nervy. We're all going to be on the edge of our seats. Ali won't have any fingernails left. but I mean, as Rich said, Radetzky had a blinder against them. So yeah, he's gonna make a few saves, and we're gonna nick that 1-0.
Now, you lot have taken all the sort of nice low scoring ones. I don't want to.
Well, you can have 5-4.
I could have. So I'm going to go for.
I mean, listen, Kazakhstan score, but they concede as well.
Yeah,
so,
I'm typing it in now. Kazakhstan 2, Finland 3.
Ooh.
Hey, what? I tell you what, I was expecting 3-0 against San Marino, and 6 went flying in. So
Well, listen, Mark, we'll have a couple of euros on that, mate.
All right, that's fine. Can I pay by mobile pay? Does that work over there? Probably not.
No, it don't.
I have to say, I think I am going to go 1-1 for the home game though, because I know. I'm sorry. So, so 3. I'm predicting 4 points for Finland. Ali's predicting 4 points for Finland. Keke's gone big balls and predicting 6 points, and Rich has gone for 4 as well. So we're actually from among all of us, one of us should have predicted something right by the time we get to Sunday evening. Let's hope so.
Correctly predict scores.
Yeah, exactly right. Anyone have anything else to add before we wrap up?
I think one thing I'll shout, as Keke mentioned around the Denmark game being sold out, the Northern Ireland game, which it's the final home game on the 17th of November. They've already sold over 20,000 tickets for that. Yeah. And bear in mind, that's 2.5 months away, and it's going to be cold,
isn't it?
I don't know what day the 17th is, but yeah, it's going to be cold. And I think the Kazakhstan game in October, I think that I haven't seen the latest figure, but the last one I saw comparing the two were fairly similar. So I'd imagine if Finland do well in this round, then those who are hedging their bets will come rushing out the woodwork and fill the Palolita Christmas party coffers.
Yeah, you've got to think that the success will kind of drive more people there. And we were there in October when we all met up a few years ago.
Yeah,
that was November.
Yeah, and it was quite mild that day. I had me sheepskin boots on, and it was. I mean, jacket was undone, my not shirt off, but everything was unzipped. It wasn't cold. So bring it on November. All right. Well, I'm sure I'll be in touch with you guys during the next week, and then I guess we probably have to get together quite soon after the Denmark game, possibly Monday next week. Let's not plan our schedule live on the show. We can do that during the next few days, but listener, we will be back after the games and have a look back and see if we know anything about football, let alone Finnish football. The blog post has got links to things that we've been referring to, and tables and results and squad listings and things like that. So wherever you're watching and listening, just have a little look down below, and you'll see the link to the latest blog post. But I reckon until next time, thanks for listening to the Finnish Football Show, and goodbye to Keke.
Kiitos, näkemiin.
Goodbye to Ali.
Kiitos, hey.
And goodbye to Rich, and have a good shift, mate.
Yeah, off to work.
You've been listening to the Finnish Football Show. You can find us online at finishfootballshow.com. Remember to subscribe to the show wherever you're listening or watching. You can follow the Finnish Football Show page and group on Facebook, and also on Instagram. See the links in the episode description. You can also connect with the 5 hosts on Twitter, at Explore Finland, at FC Suomi, at Escape to Suomi, at Keke Muleri, and at Mano99. Links to the Finnish Football Show merch stores are also in the episode description.